All right, welcome volunteers for the Buffalo Stampede Festival for 2025. My name's Nigel Preston. I'm the event and race director, and online as well we have Julie as a party, who's our volunteer coordinator. Julie, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, awesome. So we're going to go through a number of things in this session now, covering off on all the things you need to know for the Buffalo Stampede for this year. We're going to have some bookmarks in the video as well, so you can listen to the first block of the video and then jump onto the specific information that you want further down the video, depending on your role. So, thank you for joining us. We're really excited about this year's Stampede, and in fact, the key document that's just launched is our event guide. And this has now been sent out to all of our participants, all 2,500 of them at the moment. That's about 500 more than last year. We've had a bumper registration numbers for this year's event. We're talking 750 starters in our marathon, 750 starters in our 20K, over 370 in the 100-kilometer ultra, as well as the team's relay as well. So that's a lot of people, over 500 people coming in the 10K as well. If you're not familiar with the Buffalo Stampede, jump on the website, download the event guide. It will tell you all the backgrounds. From Single Track's point of view, we took the event on just after COVID. It was first held in 2014 and has grown ever since. So first action for you tonight is to download the event guide and make sure you've got that. It's got all the background information that you might need. Another thing that'll be really handy as you prepare for your shifts are these Google Maps. So we've got this volunteer map. We'll send you out a link for this. You can see all those dots and pins, hopefully on the screen there. And all of these different locations are all of the Marshal spots, all the aid stations, and all of the course routes as well. So we'll circulate a link for you for that as well. We've also using Avenza as an app this year as well. This is a new software device. Well, sorry, it's an old software device, but it's new to us. Basically, it's an app on your phone. It will download these course maps offline for you. More importantly, for the participants themselves, to have these maps. And the really handy thing about them is that even when you're offline, so even if you don't have mobile service, it will locate you on the course as well. So there's a couple of resources to start with: the event guide, the Google Maps with the volunteer info, and the Avenza map as well. I'm just going to hand over to Julie as she talks through some of our volunteer expectations. Thanks, Julie.
No worries. So we've got quite a range of volunteers this year, but some things that we want to address is please be punctual, because we're relying on you to be at your spot on time, especially for marshals and aid stations. We can't have runners running off course. We want you to be at the right spot and make sure that you are aware of what you need to do. So first, we want you to be punctual. Your shift time is actually the start of your shift at your location, not at Pioneer Park. Although for course marshals, we will be transporting people up to Mystic from Pioneer Park, so we'll let you know the timings of that closer to the event time. Make sure that you wear appropriate clothing. It can be hot during the day, but at night time it can still get freezing cold, even if it's hot during the day. So please be prepared for any time. Make sure that you have a warm jacket, some sunscreen, a drink bottle, maybe some snacks. And also bring a chair if you're marshalling, so you can sit down and relax while you're watching the runners come through. And let us know if you need to carpool to any spots. There's always more than one of you going out to aid stations, and it'll be good to limit the amount of cars that we have at the aid stations as well.
Perfect. Thank you. When you're starting your shift, please come and see Julie at Pioneer Park. We'll have a registration spot there for volunteers. You'll be able to get your volunteer shirt and hat and safety vests, depending on your role, at the event as well. This year, we're communicating using WhatsApp. So we encourage everyone to download the WhatsApp app. And we'll have different groups for different days. So I'll just read those out quickly. We'll have one for our Friday Marshals. We'll have one for our Saturday 100K and 20K Marshals, one for our Saturday 2K and 5K Marshals, one for our Sunday 42K Marshals, and then one for the aid stations across all the different events. So depending on your role, we'll send you a note for you to be able to join into those WhatsApp groups. It's a really important way for you to be able to communicate with Julie, communicate with me, communicate with other people, and also be able to follow the race so you can understand where people are up to on course and where the sweepers are and those sort of things as well. If you have any DNFs, particularly if you're a course marshal or if you have any queries, please put the bib number through those WhatsApp channels. That helps us keep track of people, or just any other requirements and those sort of things as well. So please just try to communicate as effectively as you can through that channel. That'd be really great. Julie, do you want to just speak for a little bit about maybe what people should do if things go wrong, or if they need to do anything with first aid or anything like that out on course?
Yeah, so if a runner ends up in strife, injured or not feeling well, you can always message through to us, but also if it's a medical emergency, to make sure that you let the medical team know. We'll provide you with the phone numbers so you can contact them directly. If anyone needs to DNF, you send their bib number through the WhatsApp group so we can record the DNF. If someone does DNF, usually they'll make their way, or somehow we'll get them to an aid station to transport them back to the event hub. You're welcome to take photos while you're out there and share them to the groups, especially if you're at aid stations or if you're marshalling and you're seeing runners coming through. And it's great to know when the front of the pack and the back of the pack are on course. So if you can communicate those details through WhatsApp, that would be really appreciative. If anything is private or something comes up urgently, you can always contact myself or Nigel by text. And I think that's probably the main issues.
Yeah, I think that's covered most of them. Good one. Thanks, Julie. So the next steps for you as volunteers, please read the event guide. Join the WhatsApp group when you get an email about those groups. Check your maps, particularly if you're a course marshal or at an aid station. Please double check your shifts, and remembering that your shift times, they start in locations. So if you're marshalling in if you're at an aid station, say you're at Buckland Valley Aid Station and the roster says you start at 10 a.m., that's 10 a.m. at Buckland Valley. That's not 10 a.m. back at Pioneer Park and then a travel time. The other step is to please show up, as the 0.5 is on the screen there. Please show up. If you're unable to make it, please let Julie know, but really we are relying and counting on all of our volunteers to make it on the day. So please turn up, please. Thanks. We're going to move into a few more specifics about different roles now. The next ones will be bookmarked on the YouTube event video description. So we're going to go through those, and you can just skip to the ones that are most relevant to you and skip over the ones that aren't relevant to you. So our first one that we'll be talking about is mandatory gear checks, then bib collection, merchandise, finish line / recovery, marshals, aid stations, and sweepers. So mandatory gear checks. So if you're rostered on with mandatory gear checks, you will get a slip with all the different items that are required for each race. And your job is to check off all of those items against the checklist that you've got. Really great idea if you could check out the event guide and just familiarize yourself with the requirements before the event time. Some items, such as ASICS jackets, so rain jackets, snake bandages, head torches, emergency blankets, they will be available for people to buy at the event in that chance that someone hasn't come prepared. Really important. If you've got any questions around anything, we will have some more senior members of the team available. So Julie's likely to be around. I'll be around. We'll have some other key people around who you'll be able to check things with if things are not quite right. However, the information in the event guide's pretty clear on what passes and what doesn't. What counts as a snake bandage, it needs to have the indicators on it, for instance. It needs to be not cut down to size or anything like that. There's some specifications around what we're requiring there. So, and just as a pro tip there, that you're the first face that people will see at the event. So, a really warm welcome would be really nice. If you've ever participated in an event before, that first initial sense of welcome can be really nice. Anything you wanted to add about mandatory gear checks, Julie?
Probably the only thing I would add is that sometimes it might be the first time that an athlete or runner has had to have a mandatory gear check. So sometimes they're a bit nervous. They don't know what to do. They're fumbling a bit. So just try and keep them relaxed, and it helps the process go a lot smoother as well. And I find that it's easier when doing mandatory gear checks just to go through the list instead of them pulling bits out and trying to find them on the list. Work your way down through the list. So then it's easy to check things off and you don't miss anything as well. And then just stay calm. If someone's not happy about something not getting passed, just yell out and get some help.
Perfect. Absolutely. Our next area, and we'll have lots of volunteers in this area over the weekend, is in bib collection and bag drop. So this will be inside Pioneer Park at the pavilion, which is where the race starts and finishes are. So really, this is after they've gone through mandatory gear check, and they'll have that little slip of paper to basically hand over to you. They need to have done mandatory gear check before they come to you. Your job is then to find their bibs in their different races. And you can see from the little photo here that it's Christopher, number 501, should I say, in the Sky Marathon. So you'll just be able to hand those over. It's good to double check that as you go to make sure you're giving the right bib to the right person. Couple of unique things in this point is that the 100-kilometer and 100-kilometer relay participants, they will also receive timing tags for their packs, their race packs that they're running and carrying with them. This is a little double check piece of technology. So basically, we don't want to miss them out on course. They're running 100 kilometers. We don't want to miss their times out on course. You may have seen this. This is done at other events around the world, particularly for 100K events. So we're copying best practice here and adopting this. Grand Slam participants, so these people that are doing the 10K on Friday night, either the 100K or the 20K on Saturday, and then the 42 on Sunday, so they're doing 3 events, they will actually receive 3 bibs. They're all identical, 1 for each day. And this is to make sure that if they damage or tear or rip one of them in any of the events, that they've got another one ready to go. It doesn't matter which bib they use on which day, they're all coded exactly the same. So that's fine. In terms of bibs as well, as you're doing that collection, please check whether people have ordered merchandise items, pre-ordered them, so they've already paid for them. We will have a check sheet there that tells us whether they've had that they've had merchandise already. So you can just say, hey, please don't forget, go over to the next table and grab your merchandise because they've already paid for it and we'd love to give it to them. And people often forget, they've just gone through the process of mandatory gear checks or kind of gone through the rush to get here. They forget those sort of things. So, Julie, anything you wanted to add on bib collection and bag drop at the moment?
Just about paces.
Yep.
Paces will be issued with the bib. And we usually do mandatory gear checks for paces as well. The paces need to carry the same mandatory gear as the runners, and we want to make sure that they do carry that at all times.
Absolutely. Thank you. In terms of bag drop, so if you are part of the bag drop team at Bib Collection, you'll operate alongside them. Basically, your job will be to collect the person's bags, and these are going out to some aid stations. Put them in 2 piles, whether it's to Eurobin or to Cresta Valley, and just try to keep them as organized in bib number as you can. We'll talk a little bit about that in the other end of the process. The other tip is that in terms of a bib collection, you don't need to tick anyone off any lists. That's fine. We just need you to hand out bibs and make sure that they're correct. Thank you. On to merchandise next. So we have some people rostered on to help us with merchandise throughout the weekend. And so there's two main streams of people that'll be coming to merchandise. Those who have pre-ordered gear. So they've through registration, they've ordered some gear. There's literally hundreds of people that have ordered hundreds of items, and people will forget. So they'll go through the process of getting to Bright, getting all their mandatory gear ready, and they actually forget. Some people have ordered or registered 6 months ago, and they just don't remember. So matching at merchandise, matching up the people when they come and say, hey, I've got some pre-ordered merchandise. It'll all be pre-labeled and pre-bagged, and your job will be to sort through and match up the people with the items. That's pre-ordered. New sales, as people are coming through, they'll start to check out and have a look at some of the new items as well. You can help them buy them. Tiff McLeod from the single track team, she'll be there. So if you need any support, she'll be providing training over the weekend as well. In terms of some of the emergency items, or should I say mandatory items that are required, we will have some of those for sale. So if people come through mandatory gear and don't have all the items required to go racing, we will have most of those available either at our merchandise or at the Brightside shop at the event as well. Julie, I'll assume maybe you don't want to add anything to merchandise, but I'll just ask you, just in case you do.
I can't actually think of anything else to add to that one.
Perfect. That's good. Our next group of volunteers are our finish line helpers and recovery area. So these are all based at Pioneer Park. And it's a really fun kind of role, really high energy, but it can go for a really long time. So it's sustained high energy, should we say. Your jobs are to manage and hand out the finisher medals. So making sure that the right medals go to the right people in the right races. Each medal has a different colored ribbon on it, lanyard on it to match each different race. So just making sure you're managing that as you go. You will be watching people coming through the finish chute all event. So please make sure you're keeping an eye out for people who might need first aid or medical support straight away. We will have a team of medical practitioners right at the finish line within 5 meters of the finish. So if anyone is looking a bit peaky, looking dehydrated, looking hot, looking anything that might need any help or concern, please just go and talk to the medical team and say, hey, I've got a finisher here. They're not looking well. Can you come and have a look? Okay. Please be really mindful of that. That could be really helpful for them. If you're in the recovery area, it is water, fruit, refreshments to athletes after the races. And we want this team to be quite fluid and moving between finish line and recovery to make sure that all of those areas are moving really smoothly. Another really helpful thing is that if you know where there's more water, where there's toilets, where there's seating, where people can find results, you might find yourself at the finish line talking with friends and family as they're waiting for their family to come through. So please, all that information's in the event guide, particularly about the results and those sort of things. It's just a link on our website. But if you can be that kind of extra people to help the audience and the crowd as they're there, that would be really helpful. Julie, anything you wanted to add about finish line and recovery?
Talking about clothing, we do have some overnight shifts at the finish line for the 100K. So once again, make sure that you bring a nice warm jacket because it does get cold at night. So just be prepared. And even if don't think you might be there at nighttime, just bring a jacket just in case.
Yep, excellent. Good point. You are out there for a long time. So yeah, prepare yourselves for that. Course marshals, the key point with our course marshals is to know that you're there to stop runners, not cars. So you're not employed as traffic controllers. And so please make sure that as runners are approaching and a car is approaching at the same time, we just want to make sure that we're stopping the runners and not the cars. Your second job is to make sure that runners go the right way. So saving the Google course map and knowing the course and your location really well are really important to make sure that you're doing a great job. Make sure you can provide some support to their athletes, cheering, clapping, those sort of things. If you've got some bells or something like that, that's always really encouraged. Support the athlete. You might have been in events yourself in the past where you have had a bit of a kind word from a volunteer or a cheer, and you just know that that can give a real boost to people as well. If you have anyone who needs any first aid, you can call that through either to the numbers that we share with you or through the WhatsApp using the bib number. And really importantly, stay in your location until either the sweepers come through, they're the people at the back end of the race, or that a relief marshal comes and relieves you, please. And just a point there, please bring a chair with you as well. Julie, anything you want to add about course marshals?
Probably the main thing is if for some reason you need to be relieved of anything, if you need something to eat or drink or need to go to the toilet or whatever, make sure that you call that through so we can arrange for someone just come and cover you. Or if you need to go, if something always comes up, you need to leave, just make sure you message through. That's not a problem as long as we know what's going on.
Yep.
Feel free to bring a speaker as well. It's always nice to have some music pumping for those runners if you feel like it.
Yeah, great idea. Yeah, the atmosphere can be really good, and feel free to do that. That's an awesome thing to do.
And if you're marshalling at nighttime, maybe some lights or
yeah,
or you can feel free to bring anything along. Have a party vibe.
Have a party vibe. That's right, exactly. We will be transporting marshals who are in Mystic Park, so we'll be doing a couple of shuttle bus runs for those. So specific volunteers will be asked to come to Pioneer Park. We'll communicate directly with you about what time it is that you need to go up into, that you need to meet in Pioneer Park. We'll do a shuttle up. We'll also do a shuttle run back down for you. So please be aware of that. All the other locations with the marshals, we're likely to ask you to get there by yourself. If that's any of an issue, please get in touch with Julie or myself and we can help you out, sort you out. Aid stations, really critical part of the whole event weekend. This breaks down into a couple of different sections for us to talk about. So, and there's a great snapshot there of a beautifully laid out aid station with some fruit. I've got some lollies, got some gels, got some pure electrolyte juice, some Coke, and plenty of water as well. So it's broken down into a couple of different roles, and the way that we really want you to tackle aid station volunteering with us at Buffalo Stampede is that for you to be really active. So stand in front of the table. You are the event's every athlete's crew. So I want you to stand in front of the table, ready to fill up their flasks. Ask them if there's anything like they'd like to have, anything they'd like to eat, anything in particular. They might not be as familiar. They've just been out running for a while, so they might just be in a bit of a daze. So give them a bit of a moment to just think about that. They might need some explanation of what you've got available. We really want you to be proactive. So checking how much stock we've got, refilling items, cleaning things, using tongs to serve food to people, just really ensuring general cleanliness. If we can ask you to be proactive in those aspects, that would be really great. We're going to have a couple of different ways of splitting up ice, particularly if it's hot. So we will have some what we're calling wet ice, which sounds a bit vague, but basically wet ice, which you can use to fill up flasks, put in ice bandanas, those sort of things. And then ice for cooling. And this is important with the second group that this doesn't touch the athlete, basically. We don't want any cross-contamination here. So if you're putting sponges into the ice and then squeezing that over the top of the athlete, we want to make sure that those sponges are not touching the athletes with any of the ice, any of the cooling that we're using as well. So keeping those things really separate, really distinct, basically ice that we're using to cool down Coke or cool down water, that sort of thing. And then obviously ice that is being used to cool off athletes, really different. If you're heading to your aid stations, we'd really love you to know the cutoff times for the aid stations and the races. You can check the websites for that info and the event booklet. But we will prepare some signs as well that say what time the cutoff times are and the distances to the next aid station as well. Julie, you want to mention anything about how aid stations roll?
Yeah, so we want to make sure that the aid stations are set up prior to the first runners coming through. So you will need to cut up fruit, have things nicely laid out so that things are easy to find. Make sure that things are topped up regularly as well. And if your stock is starting to get low, make sure that you give us plenty of warning to get some new supplies out to you. It can take a while to get out to some of those aid stations, and we don't want to be left without stock if you desperately need something. Something to watch out for is drop bags. If you're at a drop bag aid station, please sort the drop bags in number order just so it's easier to find, and just ask the runners if they have a drop bag, because sometimes they forget, or they might come through, especially if they've been out there for a long time. They can't remember if they've got a drop bag or not. They just might need that bit of prompting, and give them a hand. Try and find it if you can, if they want some help. Some of them just want to be left on their own, which is fine. But then you've got other runners that really rely on your help as well. So just ask, do you want a hand? Get whatever they need. If they want a drop bag, if they've got a drop bag there and they want you to get it, give them a hand. Especially the longer into the race, you might just need to prompt them to, like, have you made sure that you've had enough to eat? Have you had enough to drink? Make sure that they have enough fluids for when they leave, because we don't want people running out of water or hydrolytes once they've gone. Sometimes they just forget to do things like that and think, oh, they left the aid station, they forgot to refill their flasks or their bladder. So just prompt them. Doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
To just say, do you need to top up?
Perfect. Thank you. Here's some of the items, or these are all the items, should I say, that we'll have at all of the aid stations. So some of the electrolyte drink that Julie just mentioned, some gels, water, we'll have ice, lots of ice if the forecast is hot. We'll have Coca-Cola and Bundaberg ginger beer in cans. So they're in cans so that they can be cooled in the ice in the eskies really effectively, and also managed a bit more effectively so it stays fresher for longer. There'll be lollies, chips and chocolate, banana, orange, watermelon. They'll need to be chopped up. Sunscreen, hard-walled cups for the hot items, which I'll get onto on the next one. Salt and sugar, and then chairs also for seating. So one of the things we've added in recent years as well is chairs for the athletes to have a sit down on. So in a number of the aid stations, there'll be some plastic chairs, hired chairs for people to have a rest in the aid station. Here are some of the, I guess you'd call them super stations, if you like, for the inbound in the 100 kilometers. So this is for Buckland Valley, Urobin Creek, Clear Spot, Mount Buffalo, Chalet, and Cresta Valley on the way back in. So there's everything on the previous page plus hot items such as boiled potatoes, hot noodles, cup of soup, cheese jaffles, and coffee tea Milo as well available. So that's what the hard-boiled cups are for, is for those cup of noodle soup and the coffee tea Milo, those sort of things as well. Really important. A couple of aid stations have drop bag locations and relay changeover points. So Urobin being one of those and Cresta Valley being the other. So as Julie said before, some people will actually forget that they've even got a drop bag. They've been out there for so long. So do please prompt them as they go. And then in the relay changeover points, the main thing to think about if you're on one of those aid stations is to make sure that the other members of the team don't go through the timing gates until the runner is heading off, basically to start. So please make sure that they're just really aware of that as they're around the aid stations in the relay, to make sure that they're not going through the timing gate too early. Sweepers is the next one, and course clearing. So we'll just run through a few of these things. Might be called the tail end Charlie or the back end Charlie for those who are in New Zealand or from another country. Julie was just saying me before we started recording. So the job of the sweeper is to follow the last person on course and to be in communication with the race director to let us know where you are on course. We do have bibs for these sweepers, so do collect a bib because when you go through a timing gate, it will notify us that you're on course as well. Where advised by our course director, Joe Dorf, you will be required or requested to clear the course as well. So that will look like pulling down some of the ribbons that are used and placing them in a pile or carrying them all the way back to the finish, depending on how far you are. You might be asked to just drop them in a pile at a road junction. So Joe and his course team can come round beforehand. Again, if you can prepare yourself by knowing the cutoff times for each aid station, that would be really great to do as well. So that's a little bit of info about the sweepers and the course clearers. Julie, anything you wanted to add about that?
Yes, just with the sweepers, if you're catching up to the last people, just have a little chat to them. Ask them if they want some company. Some people do, they might be on their own and they feel a bit left out. So some of them want some company by the sweepers, but others feel a bit intimidated as well. So if they feel a bit intimidated or they don't want you hanging around, just drop back a bit so you can still keep them in sight, but not kind of hassle them. Maybe if they're falling behind time, you may just want to give them a little nudge and let them know that maybe they're falling a bit behind time, that they can't hang around for too long. But just have a chat to them and just follow your gut instincts on whether you should be close to them or not. We want the runners to feel comfortable and not intimidated or hassled.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Julie. Thank you. So that wraps up our volunteer briefing session. We hope that's been really helpful. We'll also supply more information on email before now and the event. But really, we want you to have a great time out there at the event. You know, participating in the event, be it on the start line or participating as a volunteer, is a really great thing to do. That's why Julie and I are involved. We love doing it. We love the excitement of an event and being able to see people test themselves in all sorts of different ways. As I said at the start of the briefing, we are looking at record numbers for our event. Almost 2,500 people have entered so far, and we're really relying on people like you giving up your time to help us out. So thank you so much for being a part of it. Julie, is there anything you wanted to add to close out?
We want you to have a great time. So we want you to get in the spirit of things, have a nice vibe about everything and enjoy it. And if something does come up, don't hesitate to contact us. That's what we're there for. We don't want you stressing about something. If you're not sure, if you've got a question, feel free to ask. Don't worry about it. We want you to have a good time.
Absolutely. Very good. Thanks so much for volunteering, and we'll be in touch soon. Bye.
Bye.